Welcome back to our another episode, the second episode on Project 2 Billion. It was an absolute wonderful thing that we did in our first episode, and we got a lot of comments, a lot of feedbacks on what it meant for them. But in essence, it was a start of something that was cooking for a very long time. And it is something that is out in the market, out in the cloud, and out in the space for anyone and everyone to see. But there remains a continuity, and that it requires a continuity. So this is Arif. Welcome back for another episode of this. But we have a very wonderful person with us again, my partner, my colleague, Michael, with us as well. And his laugh and his smiles make the world for me to go forward in this Project 2 Billion. Welcome, Michael. Really, really wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Arif, and it's lovely to be with everybody. And I'm excited for what we're going to be talking about. So, in terms of our format today, Arif's going to be quizzing me, and then I'm going to quiz him back. And we've chosen three kind of key questions that we think people, if you've watched and listened to the first episode, you think, okay, what's actually going on with this? We're going to take you on to the next part of the journey today. So, Arif, do you want to start with your first question?
Absolutely. So, in our first episode, we did quite a few understanding of the why we're doing this, who is Michael, who is Arif, and what does it mean? But then what remained is a little bit more definitive aspect of this project. So perhaps we can start right away and asking the first part of the segment is, what is Project 2 Billion, Michael?
Sure. Well, I'll say what it means to me, and then obviously I want you to say what it means to you. To me, I wanted to help, I still do want to help 1 billion people. And Arif, I found out, wanted to do the same. So then we combined it and thought, well, why don't we help 2 billion? But that was just a starting point. We realized, yes, that would be good, but how could we actually do that? And why would we want to do that? And we talked about that in the previous episode. But the actual what that we both realized is the future belongs to humans and technology. The interplay between technology and humans over the next 100 years, and digital technology and leveraging that, we feel, is the best way to help 2 billion people. It's not to physically go out there and try to meet 2 billion people, but it's to create content, it's to create a movement, it's to create projects, content, different things, a lot of them digital assets that people like yourself can access, listen to, learn from in order to empower them. Because Arif said a brilliant thing, which I'm going to steal, which he said, I don't want people to be going and applying for jobs. I want them to be creating their own jobs. I want them to be creating their own businesses. And Arif has so much experience in technology, and I have quite a lot of experience in teaching and people. To me, Project 2 Billion is that combined ability to say, right, for the modern professional, if you want to be the best version of yourself, it's going to involve people and people skills. It's going to involve technology and AI skills. If you want to get a handle on both of those and leverage our knowledge and the knowledge of people that we know, this is going to be a place where you can do that. So hopefully that makes it a bit more clear on kind of from my point of view. But Arif, obviously, tell us, what does it mean to you?
Absolutely. And I think that is very helpful. And there's nothing to change about it. Rather, I would just add onto it without repeating it, which is, you're absolutely right. There is a word that we've used on the back end of Project 2 Billion is what we call an impact. And impact is a very powerful word. Impact is a word that sometimes creates a lot of confusion, even amongst people who are thinking, what does it mean to impact someone? What does it mean to impact in the first place? And what we believed is how we see success, how we see readiness, and how we see development towards that journey of readiness and journey of success. And what we've realized is that human beings, as a professional, have a lot of things to do and have a lot of unique things to provide, and unique combinations, unique thoughts, unique perspectives. Yet, when we get into the workplace, we are put into this manufacturing cycle where we are asked to produce the same output over and over again. And within a few years' time, we automate the entire process. And we leave the humans completely with plethora of confusions. What have I done? Have I just out-jobbed myself or outsmarted my own job?
Yeah.
And ultimately what that makes us think is that we are not good enough. And some people think that we will not be good enough when AI and all this sphere of digitalization comes in. However, we think differently. So for me, Project 2 Billion, just to add on to what Michael said, is to make all of us individually realize what value do we have that we can provide into this space that is uniquely ours, creatively driven. And that is not copyable, that is not repeatable, that is scalable with the power of other human beings and the augmentation of each of us when we use technology. Like what we're doing now, I can never be Michael, but I can have the support of Michael to create this Project 2 Billion using the power of Zoom that is connecting us across 2 different continents from 2 different parts of the world. What do you think, Michael?
It's brilliant. It's so, absolutely, you can see why I connected with this man. I think words to keep in mind for this whole project to help you are compound interest and leverage. You know, this is two guys coming together trying to help 2 billion people. It's like 1 + 1 can be 2 billion. Think about yourself. One of the beauties to me for business is things can compound over time. Meaning can compound, skills can compound, money can compound. And you don't have to create the wheel. You don't have to create Zoom. You don't have to create the internet. It's here. It's here to be used. But you've touched on a really important part, which I think leads into probably the second thing we're going to talk about, which is meaning. And what does it mean to be a human being in this very modern kind of digital age?
Absolutely. And to say, at least I think the meaning is a question that has pondered us since the birth of human beings. But what we want to target here is the use of the word meaning. I think all of us are looking to use our present better. At the moment, what can I do for myself and for my society and for my vision so that my next present or the next moment becomes slightly more better? We've seen the rise of people who are continuously being competitive with themselves. We've gone through those moments where we've seen enough people to think low of us. I think what is happening here is we are already a very, very connected group of people. We have internet to support us. We have social media to connect us. We have digitization or digitalization to interact in this space. Yet, what we need now is to know how to use this. And for that, we require clarity. So I think the meaning that we've been speaking about in human terms is, as a person, as a professional, what do I need to do now? And who do I want to become for my present to be better, rather than my future or rather than my past? Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
I just wanted to pick up on what you're saying before about meaning. And when I speak to people sometimes, in the face of digital technology and in the face of AI and things like that, unless you're an expert or someone highly skilled in it, like Arif is way more than I am, it's easy to feel scared. It's easy to feel intimidated. It's easy to question your value and your meaning. And one of the things when I was thinking about this episode is we often try and treat ourselves like technology and treat technology like people. And it's not the case. Like we say, Zoom is a technology, but if you don't have a friend on the other end of the globe to connect with, you're sat looking at an empty screen. And for me, with my business being online, there's a real, I don't think people understand such a human element to digital technology that we're just starting to understand. So for example, if I'm delivering a training session in a room full of people, there's a vibe, there's an energy, there's a human interaction. If you do the same thing on Zoom or online, it's not always the same because your brain's very smart and goes, that's not Arif, that's a computer representing Arif. So I think that interaction, people tend to think you can have one or the other. You can be a very people person or you can be very into technology. Why not have both? One of the most beautiful ways I've heard it described, which I think you'll like, Arif, that help me to reimagine what a future could look like in relation to AI and technology. You'll see all sorts of films about robots taking over the world and AI is more intelligent than people and all this stuff. And it was a person wrote into a magazine, and the person said in response, why not treat your computers and your AI like you would your children?
Mm.
Why not love them? Why not think what a privilege it could be to create something that could look back at you and say, like, you know, you made me and thank you so much. There's this beautiful way of understanding things. And if you doubt that, just look at when people make a piece of art and they're often very proud of it. Or think about when you play a musical instrument. Through that musical instrument, you can express and create songs. And to me, I just see digital technology an extension of that. And I just thought, how beautiful is that? That we, rather than think about this future as this aggressive thing that's going to take over us and destroy our space, we say this is something we've created that we can apply love. And by love, I mean, it could be platonic love, it could be pride, it could be friendship towards this thing. I'm very grateful to Zoom. Zoom is a good friend of mine because Zoom has brought me Aaron, you know. So that, to me, I think we're in a very exciting time where we've gone past things like, you know, the Industrial Revolution, where this machine creates this thing, therefore man doesn't have to do that, woman doesn't have to do that, we don't have to do that anymore. Now we're in a place where we're saying the meaning of this can be whatever it means. The last example I'll give of this, it's brilliant, was when the radio and the microphone came out. I was taught this by a man called Daniel Priestley, who's a business owner and fantastic business guy. He said the people that did really well when the radio came out and the microphone came out were not the experts in the technology who knew how the nuts and bolts worked. They were the people that could sing, the people that had something to say, and they used the technology to get the message out. And so for me, that's why I get excited about this, because we can have both, can't we? We can look at the technology, but we can also look at, do we have something to say and a way of seeing things and put them all together? So that's my take on this kind of human digital space and how it interacts, the potential it brings from kind of soft and fuzzy side. But Arif, obviously, I want to hear, you know, what do you think about this human digital space?
Absolutely. I think in the second space of what we're talking about, as we move forward to the Project 2 Billion, I think there's two different questions need to be answered from different parts of and as we all know, there's two different sides of a coin, but two different sides of the coin are together. And I think that togetherness requires a proper answer, or perhaps even a proper clarity. Now, let me try to put some clarity into this picture. And we have Michael here, and of course, the audience, they're amazing. You're smart, you're expert at this, you know all things. Please do give us your inputs as well, because this is not Project 2 people, this is Project 2 Billion.
Absolutely.
So what I'm thinking here is humanizing technologies. If that's one part of the coin, the second part of the coin would be digitizing human beings or augmenting human beings. Now, both are critical as we move ahead. And those who understands it, or those who can use it better, can either create a very amazing aspect towards it, or perhaps it can be a destructive. So I can say it's either disruptive or destructive. Either thing can work. It all depends on how many people are literate about this chapter. To explain that a little bit more, technologists are trying to think. And in hindsight, we want technologies to think. And for technologists to think, for example, your iPhone, if you've used an iPhone, as the call is ringing, the moment you pick up your iPhone, it stops ringing and maybe it rings at a very, very low tune, which means it knows that you've picked up the phone and it is ready for you to be answered. So it doesn't need to have loud voice anymore. That's intelligence. This is artificially developed intelligence that the machines are doing. Now, as humans, we're the beneficiary of this technology. We're the beneficiary of this intelligence. So ask yourself these 5 questions and see how or what part of it can you do so that you can humanize this technology. The first is the descriptive model of it. What is happening? What is it that I need? from that technology. Defining that moment is critical. The second one is, why do I need this? Why is this important for me? Why is it happening in the first place? The reasoning behind, the context behind it. This iPhone example, the ringing example. What is, it needs to have a sound so that you can get reminded or you can get alerted that you have a phone call. Why? So that you want to miss. But again, you don't need it to be at you when you're holding your phone because you're already seeing it. So this is the second level of intelligence that the machines are trying to capture. The third is what can happen in the future. Now, this is a lot more critical and a lot more artificially powered intelligence, which is, it is predicting for you. A lot of the times, humans make decisions. Humans are the only one whose decisions matter a lot. And for us to make those decisions, we need to have a support, that augmentation that we'll later talk about. And to do that, we require some level of decisioning, some level of forecasting, some level of prediction. That's a third question that you need to ask your technology of choice. The fourth one is prescriptive. So what is it exactly that I can do? What is it exactly that machine can do for me, either for the goodness of it or to mitigate the risks that comes with it? Either way. And the last one is, what do I need to monitor? What do I need to keep monitoring so that we are living in a constantly changing world? Yet we need to be aware, we need to be alerted, and we need to be informed. As Michael always says in a beautiful way, that informed simplicity. Can we have that informed simplicity now when we have done all of these 4 levels before on what is it, why something happens, what can happen in the future, what is it that is recommended for me, and lastly, the simplicity of information in the first place. Michael, love to hear your thoughts on this digitizing human beings.
Wow, that's powerful.
Other humanizing technologies.
I think I'd like to give 2 recommendations of books or audiobooks if people are sat there thinking, yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. The one is called The Future is Faster Than You Think by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler. Superb example. And it goes into all of the sectors that can and will be disrupted through technology in the next 10 years. And they say there's going to be more accelerated speed and progress in the next 10 years than there has been in the last 100. And when you read it and interact with it, if you're like me, you start off by being interested, then a bit scared, then excited, and then you think, no, this is going to be brilliant. So make sure to check that one out. The second one, when you're talking about human decision making, it's called Noise, the error in human judgment, and it talks about exactly that. So many examples, but it's a doctor who can then she can go to the screen and scan a medical database and in real time and see 10,000 results in 5 seconds as opposed to going to her memory. And that interplay between the two and cancelling out, they basically say you should be able to, if you arrive at an informed decision, come to the same decision every time if it's the right one. If you don't, it's because of context. Now, that is very hard to do if you watch any game of sport. But in terms of things like medicine and engineering and ethics, we look at, trying to do away things like homophobia and racism, sexism, and all these things. We're trying to say, can we arrive to an informed simplicity that this is always the right thing to do, please? Or this is always the wrong thing to do. So I wouldn't add to anything you said. All I'd say is if people want to explore that further, those are 2 brilliant books. One in terms of educating yourself about the technology, and the second one in relation to how does that inform our ability to make decisions and judgments.
Wonderful. And what we'll do, thank you so much, Michael, for sharing those books. And what we'll do is in the chat box, in the link in the description, we'll put together the book names along with their, maybe the Amazon link or something, so you can purchase it from all parts of the world. As Michael was saying it, thinking faster than you think, the future is actually faster than you think. It is actually true. And what it means for us, and I want to emphasize on the word project, because as we know, a project is a temporary endeavor. So what it means that it has a beginning and it has an end. what we have is we have a clarity of the end. We want to create that platform that is able to impact, that is able to churn the wonderness that humans possess and connect the augmented value that technologies bring to get into a position, to get into the success, the journey, or the pathway to the journey that they think that they want to take for themselves. And all of that requires clarity, and all of that requires efficiency. Why it's critical? Because all of us has an end that is coming soon. Can come at any point in time, and that can happen at any situation, but it has an end. Now, what it means is that we have a finite amount of time, and we also have a definitive amount of energy. So with time and energy in our hand, what we need to provide or to prove is the value of each of those seconds, each of those moments, and each of those journeys that we put together. To do that, I think Michael and I, we've seen different generations that has come into this digital space. We've seen the baby boomers who's been forced to come into this technology, the digital space. Now we're seeing the end cycle of that, or perhaps the new cycle of that, which is the new generation who are absolutely comfortable, whose entire lives revolves around technologies in the first place. Now, combining this, one word would define how and why augmentation of human beings are critical. And that word for me is outsource. As a human being, we've been outsourcing for a very long time. We started fire, we invented fire to outsource our digestion. We don't want to eat meat raw anymore. We actually want it to be cooked so that our digestion is actually outsourced. But not only that, we created an entire different civilization within that outsourcing. We created pen and paper so that our knowledge is no longer inside us. It is transcended beyond us and later taken by someone else. As Michael has been sharing different books, these are not just our invented knowledge, but these are our entrepreneurial understanding of how to connect them, how to integrate different dynamics, different thoughts. Now, what humans require is to outsource their brain. It's to outsource their thinking. It's to outsource their time. Can I delegate my work? Can I get more things done in a lesser time? And can I actually maximize my energy of whatever finite amount of energy that I have? And to do that, we have already used this very strongly. Our phones are already part of our augmented hands. And what if we could have a lot more of augmentation as we move forward? And this is no longer just friendship. This is like wearing a dress. This is my initial thoughts. Michael, I know, maybe let me put together a question for you, which is, you've been in teaching for so long and you've developed formulas around the depth of knowledge, the depth of memory, and the experiences that each of these holds. What do you think human beings or the professionals of today and the professionals of tomorrow would require from this technology, or maybe even their habit, so that they can be more ready?
That's a really good question. I think three things. The first would be skills. We talked about this, the ability to interact with the technology. An iPhone is useless if it has no battery, right? If you don't know that you need to plug it in and charge it, and then it can open the world to you, or whichever phone you have. So the first is the ability to interact with the technology. You go back 100 years and throw a phone at somebody, they're going to think you're a witch. So if you cannot interact with that technology, you will feel very isolated. Don't be scared, by the way, because technology, medical technology, has been moving closer to the body. Arif's wearing glasses. I'm wearing contact lenses. There's nothing to worry about. It's close to my body. It's not harming me. So the first is the skill, the ability. The second thing is what you were saying before when you said about outsourcing. Again, don't be scared by that, because it's not just knowing what to outsource and what not. Because if you outsource every single aspect of your life and sat around with nothing to do, you would not be happy. It's not as simple as the more time we buy you back or effort we buy you back, the happier you are. There's been books, sci-fi books on that, Brave New World, things like that. People are just sat around happy and miserable. So it's actually being able to be in that present moment. So like Arif was saying before, it's saying, right, I've got all these things taken care of that. So I can be fully present in this moment with nothing in my head, that these silly little things that aren't of value. And I can be really there with that person, with my wife who's ill, with my son who needs me. With this situation, I can be fully present as a human being, because this other stuff like the heating of my house and all that, that's taken care of. And the third one, which is something which I think is wonderful to help people to discover through learning, is it's the age-old question of who are you and what's meaningful to you. We cannot give you that, and nor would we ever want to. But the cool thing is, if you're listening to this going, I haven't got a clue what's meaningful to me in my life, and I'm just busy trying to get my family well and make money, that's great. But there's a beautiful, my father taught me this, the word education comes from educare, means to draw out, not to put in, like not like the opposite of what you just said, shove a bunch of stuff in, to draw out that which is already within and develop that. And it's absolutely all about that, and discover that. And that's a journey that never ends. And one of the best things you can do is to discover, when all the other stuff is out of the way, who am I really? I always say this to people, what would you do all day, every day for free? And follow that, So it's the skill to interact in the situation. It's that ability to outsource, but understand that brings presence and brings that ability to focus. You don't want to be thinking of a million things at once. That's not what we're trying to do. And the third one is to find a meaning through all that. And the beautiful thing is, most of us 200 years ago wouldn't have had the opportunity to sit around and just talk. We've been too busy just trying to survive. And I don't want to be disrespectful to people, because I know everybody is in a different place. But this is a privilege we've been given. This is a time privilege. To be born into this time is a privilege that I'm pretty sure a lot of people hundreds of years ago would have been like, yes, please, I would like to be born in that time. So hopefully that adds up in terms of answering your question.
Amazing. Absolutely. And for our audience, we've spoken a lot. We've spoken of very different types of perspectives within this 20 odd minutes webinar, what we call a webisode. Now, let me try to handpick this and summarize what we've spoken about and what it means truly for this Project 2 Billion is to understand where human beings are right now, the past, present, and the future, and how can we support the narrative of each of our human beings. And the narrative, what we believe, is not one. It's many, and it's unique to each and every single individual. And for every single individual to have that uniqueness, there requires a platform and there requires a compass. And every single compass is different. To support that, we require a better use of our energy and a better use of our finite resources. To draw out, as Michael said, and I absolutely believe in, as a person who's been working in artificial intelligence, one of the things we have to study is human brains. And what we have realized, we don't know anything about it. And it is absolutely hard to understand this. So what it means, there's plenty to explore, plenty to understand from just this body that we have, which is drawing out. And to cover all of that, we need you to be ready. We need to be ready. And there needs to be a platform to support that journey, the narratives of every single unique piece. Now, one key takeaway that I would then present out of this entire conversation is 3 words for one habit or one skill that you would like to earn. And that skill is confidence. how can I be confident moving forward in my journey? And there was this wonderful trainer who actually taught me this. He taught me part of it, and then I added this to make this an entire model with him, and which is to become confident, you need to have three different levels. The first, your level of knowledge in that matter. Gain the different perspectives, gain the different understandings, the narratives. All we are trying to do is to place those perspectives in hand. And soon in the future, who knows, you might see many more different types of people coming to this room and speaking their perspectives. Second one is your level of preparedness. If you know how your brains connect and interact, they interact by stories, by experiences, by connecting the neurons together. What it means is there's room to build connections, there's room to build experiences, and that can only happen if you're prepared on that matter. So one thing that my dad has always said, that if you want to play a 90 minutes football game, you need to have at least 270 minutes of preparation to play that game. Only then you will be ready for the entire 90 minutes, if not 95 minutes. And the last one, identify what your journey goes to. I love this quote from Stephen R. Covey, one of my personal favorite and an inspiration for humanity, with his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book. And he said very clearly, begin with an end in mind. Have an end in your mind. That may be wrong, that may change, but at least have an end. Because when you have an end, when you move towards it, you understand, you have more knowledge towards it, you have more preparation towards it, but most important, you have a clarity towards what you want to achieve. And don't change your destination too often. Change the method for you to reach that destination, because changing those methods, upgrading that methods using technology may do the world and for you a lot of good. That's from my side. Michael, I've been watching your smile. I really want to know from you on this matter.
All I'd add, because that's more than enough, is to say, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Good things are coming. Good things are here. Good things can come in the future. You can be a part of that. It's incredible when you can leverage people and relationships and technology and create something meaningful. It's one of the best things that you can do in the world. So don't be scared. We're here for you, and good things are coming.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you to all of you for joining us today for our second episode. And as Michael said, the message is fear is for the unknown. And to get through that unknown, this is the light that we want to shine for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had a pleasure of making the second episode. Look forward for more. And for any question, any comments, anything, please feel free to put up. It will be our honor to do our part for you. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
See you soon.
Thank you, Michael.